There is a consistent message we've heard from the beginning of the keynote speaking until earlier in the day, that companies, organizations are claiming their reduction of greenhouse gases. And what did we hear? We hear that they've reduced last year of this much amount. Somebody said, no, we have a KPI. And this is so interesting because we never used to hear about this. So come to the next climate change conference that you'll be here, and you will hear actually more stringent targets and perhaps better achievements, more clear-cut solutions that people have adopted, the likes of what example of Chris was mentioning just earlier. Any question from the audience, please? Why you want to ask questions? Okay, go ahead.
I'll tell you why. Because I'm a professor, very enlightened. I'm an old seafarer. And
Mike. It's okay, take it easy. First of all, introduce yourself, please.
I'm an old seafarer. Professor, my name is Nikhil Lidnani, and well, I work for PPG Paints, but relevant to what I'm about to ask, I was a seafarer. And I must admit, I was a very mediocre student in school. Now, I saw one of your slides said, for the future seafarers, you need to have high-end skill sets. Mm-hmm. Correct? Mm-hmm. I translate that to, and there was some more stuff in there, I translate that to almost being rocket scientists. Now, if you're such a sharp kid in school, why would you go out to sea?
My goodness, why would you not? What else could be as good as going out to sea?
Plenty. You can be a banker, for heaven's sakes. I'm 54. My brother is 50. He's 50. He's in New York, bought a 4-bedroom apartment in Manhattan.
Yeah. So, Nikhil, I think you have the answer yourself. Do you want to answer the question?
No, I don't. Why would a kid, like if I was, imagine getting A grades in school, I would become, I don't know.
It is a challenging environment.
Yes.
It's not a job of choice. But
no, I think that we are not talking about teaching kids to be theoretical physicists or chemists. We are talking about vocational applied understanding of what's going to happen on board ship before they do so. So I'm a seafarer as well, I'm an ex-captain, very mediocre student in school. But I had to do nothing else. I had nothing else in mind but to go to ships. So, but that besides the point. The point is that we are requiring seafarers to be able to solve the problems on board ships, and that is not always you can train on a 7-day course. So there is some understanding that of the theory of what exactly this biochemistry or chemical analysis of what happens on your board ship when you have such fuels. Because we are not teaching them now. We are still teaching the students of HFO and and diesel requirements. So this has to change, and the change is going to be a higher spec, very, very low flashpoint kind of a fuel, right?
It's very true. Don't create a gap now,
yes,
which you will have a problem in the future of understanding the real environment that they'll be working in. But I think that table where Nikhil is sitting, there's 2 other more guys who want to ask questions, right?
By the way,
don't
Albert
invite
Einstein
yourself.
was a mediocre student as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, thank you for the presentations and speeches. They're very, very informative. My question is to Chris. As you know, I mean, we've seen the Fed started to reduce interest, and there's a huge debate whether the reduction was appropriate or was more aggressive. And investors today, despite the fact that you're trying to encourage the investment, and I kind of echo that, but the issue we have today, or not the issue, but the concern we have today is that investors are concerned whether this reduction is a sign of a recession which might not be positive for the investment that they are going to put for the next few years, or this is something that's in line with what the economy is going to reflect on the next few years. And I hear you kind of had a concern about the US policy if Trump comes back or whatever. And if that happens, that might even add more concern to investors if the policy in the US changed towards some kind of a policy that's going to impact the shipping industry by resolving all these political issues and geopolitical issues and so on and so forth.
It's very
So
clear.
what do you say about this, and what's your risk management strategy as a fund to kind of make sure that the investors are happy with the investment and the returns that they're going to get over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we look at the current markets at the moment, on charter rates, everything actually within the last few weeks has come off, has actually gone down. But the asset prices have remained extremely firm, and there is a huge buyer-seller gap. Sellers want to cash in. Now, I think if we look at the geopolitics of what's going on, rates have been at an all-time high because we've had the situation in the Red Sea, we've got the Ukraine situation, there's uncertainty, as we know, with what's happening with the general election or presidential election in the US. All of these things have factored on the markets. We have higher ton miles because people are avoiding the Red Sea. So actually there's a perfect storm for a potential recession, because if the Red Sea situation sorts itself out, suddenly ton mile will go back down, and therefore there will be an oversupply of ships, and that will actually cause an effect in the market. The Russian situation, I think all of the vessels that have been, the older vessels that have been bought, I think that's finished. The people that are doing that trade have filled up their coffers and they're not going to buy. There's people out there that now want to sell at these ridiculously high prices. You have ships on the water that are 10 years old being sold for more than the new build price 10 years ago. And a ship is a depreciating asset. It's ultimately it's got 20, max 25 years of life for a tanker or a dry bulk. I mean, most operators would say 20 years. So yes, I understand there are concerns for investment, which is why when I say we look at the dual fuel and the new buildings, that is something which is completely underbuilt. There's very few ships in the mid-segment. We know that there's quite a few container vessels on the larger sizes, and the fuel supplies are going to be a concern because the companies like Maersk and MSC and whatever that have these ships already on the water and coming, when there is green methanol supply, they're going to buy it. And that will leave the traditional owner in a problem if you've got dual fuel but no fuel. So what we're saying is that the companies out there, the oil majors who actually produce methanol, who transport methanol, if we can build ships for them to start with and encourage them to increase supply and ask them to give us a minimum 5-year charter, that's what we're saying, then the economic cost is passed to the charterer, which ultimately is passed to the end consumer. So now, I would rather have the money going into the shipping industry than paying, what was said this morning, giving the EU a fine that goes into the general EU budget and outside of shipping. Let's keep it within shipping, let's invest it in the ships.
So geopolitics, investment appetite, and then the investment appetite, it's, of course, when it comes into geopolitics, you're off, you put off. Like when, you delay it or you leave it and you say, oh, I cannot do it now, and then let's wait and see how things will go down the road.
No, I'm saying we should invest now.
Yes,
because
that's what we are saying.
Yeah.
But for the reason others are not investing, is that very purpose of they're losing the appetite because of geopolitics.
Yes, but as I said, today it takes 3 to 4 years to get your ship anyway. So even if Donald Trump comes in, by the time the ships are delivered, he'll be going.
Human is the enemy of the unknown, and when you sit with the board and you try to put a risk in front of them without proper mitigation, they will hate you and they hate the idea that you brought into the board. They will ask you to leave quickly. Ashraf, you have a question?
Ashraf Sherbini. My question is a little bit simple because the title of this session is to facilitate the transition to net zero. I believe we are just discussing for what we are using, the end user. Because, for example, to have electricity on board our ships, that means we have a power station, do something and produce CO2 somewhere. If we are going to transform all of these type of fuels, whatever they are, so it has been processed with another process that already produce carbon somewhere. So are we discussing the zero only in our segment or for the entire thing that will really save the environment?
Who wants to answer this? Ashraf. So basically, if we're gonna have, it is transportation, right? I'm gonna answer it diplomatically. We will have a stage that will be 1 kilometer and have everybody of all different segments of the industries, and I don't think he will last to listen to all the sessions until the end of the day, right? Any other question, Khalid? Abu Jabran? Yeah.
The answer to Ashraf's point is we discussed this point and they said it is not green.
No.
They said it is blue. I told them, yeah, we will use it. It is carbon free when it comes to the ship. They said, no, you produced it with the carbon. So whoever is thinking, it is a good point.
Yeah.
That it is called blue if it is coming to the ship, which you capture but then if you use wind and solar to produce it, then it is green all the way from the production. Yeah. Let me take a small answer to Nikhil's provoking question.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yes, sir. In 94, my training manager said, you don't have to be smart to be a seafarer. But at that time, there was paper charts. There were not egg discs with 7 layers of information. There were simpler fuel. You could drink it maybe or something. But now, it is complicated.
Yes.
That's why you need this more skills and more training. So Nikhil, you are out of league here.
Out of league, yeah. Any other question or comment? Yeah, okay. It's all right. Take your time, Captain.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Captain Anwar Farah from Bahri. It's not a question, it's more of a statement. Since the morning, we've talked extensively about the E-pillar. We talked about decarbonization, we talked about alternative fuel, and then we talked about the S-pillar as well, training and so on and so forth. The G part, I've hardly heard anything this today, so I'm hoping that next year we'll talk a lot about risk management, compliance, cyber security, bribery, anti-bribery, and things like this, so that we can be able to cover all the 3 pillars. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the comment.
My question is to Ali Riaz. You were talking about data quality, and in the second step, you mentioned the use of AI and ML to clean the data, to improve the quality of data. What, in your opinion, is the efficiency of AI ML at this point? I'm sure with time it will improve, but at this point, how much is it able to help?
The problem with machine learning is that it takes a lot of data and a lot of time. And if you want to hurry up and all of a sudden create a controlled or uncontrolled machine learning module, you have to hurry up and wait for 4 years approximately. So Stena started this in 2016. So end of 2019, 2020, you could start seeing that the quality of it was verifiable, and the input it provided could be used for transactional purposes. There's a lot of large language models today. You can have fun with them on ChatGPT. But increasingly, we're going to large action models, LAMs. And that's when actually the data will do something instead of just informing you. And that becomes very critical that it's accurate, right? Because you don't want an action to happen without human interface. So, and that's why all these big companies like OpenAI and all these people have spending so much money and so much time so they can actually model it out for you. But it takes a long time if you want to start in your own kitchen, but there are other ways to go about it.
May I ask Captain Abhai also to comment on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely takes a lot of time, and I couldn't agree more with you. But primarily what we face is, where do we get the data from? Okay? And in the maritime industry, if you were to get the data itself has been a challenge, especially from the people aspect of it. So currently from that aspect, when we look at it, first is data collection, because rightly so, garbage in is garbage out, right? We firmly believe in that. So we work on that human element itself, because at the end of the day, what is AI try to mimic? A human mind itself. How about creating that atmosphere for him to give in that data, and that is the thing which we've overcome or trying to still overcome in many ways.
Yeah, I just want to say about garbage in, garbage out. We were talking about that yesterday, Ali.
Yeah,
in the
last
past,
evening.
garbage in, garbage out. But now, because we are so dependent on automation, and we use so much of machine-to-machine actioning, that garbage in is danger out. That's the problem. It's better not to have information than have wrong information. If you don't have information, it makes you call people and do something. But if you have the wrong information, you'll action on it.
It's like seeking for a legal advice. You speak to that chat X, and then you get a long legal advice, and then you put it in the contract, and then you end up with a total disaster down the road. And then if you are on the ship, and then you going through a separation zone or a channel, and then you need to know what is the water depth, let's say 1 nautical mile away, and then you ask ChatGPT, and it tells you it's about 3 meters, and it's actually it's half a meter, and then you have a grounding situation, and this can continue on and on and on, but we can continue that over the networking session outside. Ammar, can I close, wrap up? Thank you so much. One question? Yeah, okay, that was Trevor raising his hand. Okay then, thank you very much everyone, and much appreciated your patience, and I hope you found this session